Context. My party had all fallen into a trap set by a homebrew creature capable of mind control and glamour effects. The artificer succeeded on his will save. The wizard did not. The monster glamored itself to try and seduce the artificer, telling him how the wizard was in agreement and just behind this door over here. The artificer, believing the wizard was also an illusion, said, "Screw this," and threw a bomb in the room to take out the monster and the quote-unquote illusion. The game master, that's me, felt his soul leave his body, completely disassociating as he stared in abject horror at the artificer for what he just did. The small part of his mind, still capable of rational thought, trying to work out how to salvage this as the table looked at him in concern. The GM wasn't in his seat anymore. He was floating as an astral projection, seriously considering floating off into the endless abyss for the sheer incredulity of watching one of his players unknowingly blow up another. Fortunately, once the game master managed to tether his soul back into his body, the situation was resolved, with the monster injured, the rest of the party making it out, and the wizard alive but wounded by the bomb. It made a fun roleplay moment and a point of character development for the artificer, who had at that point thought bombs were the solution to all problems. Hey, look on the bright side, he wasn't casting fireball, and look, blowing up a party member with a bomb? I mean, Critical Role's Sam Riegel does that just on the average workday.
It's an explosive arrow.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay.
Okay, so I, 16, female, have a Dungeons & Dragons group with my brother, his 3 friends, and a friend who we'll call Sapphire, who's 15 and female. The owner of the local game shop is the dungeon master of the game, and he made the campaign himself. I don't remember exactly what day we started, but it was last winter. We haven't been able to do the main campaign for a couple of months because Sapphire hasn't been able to show up. Now, this would be completely fine. One of my brother's friends hasn't been able to come a lot either, but he was graduating and had a lot of work, so out of the norm. But the way she's been handling it is frustrating. She's never told us directly unless I or my brother text her about it. And even then, she's super vague. You know, she's out of town, she's busy, I don't think I can handle it mentally. We've had to cancel Dungeons & Dragons the day of a lot of the time because she just doesn't tell us normally. Yesterday, we did our campaign again. Not only did we barely remember how it went or why we wanted to accomplish certain things in the campaign, we've barely been able to do the story because Sapphire hasn't come in so long, but Sapphire was gone for the session. Again. I felt disconnected from the campaign story, and so did everyone else. Our dungeon master noticed how upset we were about this, and he told us we could restart the campaign with a different story if we'd like. We agreed, and a couple of us made new characters for it. As we talked, the DM said he considered Sapphire disconnected to the campaign group, since they haven't been able to come. I thought about it a bit, and my brother and I asked if we should let them leave the campaign. The DM said it's up to the people of the group, and everyone agreed. I then asked if we could replace her with my friend, who we'll call Rose, 16 female. The DM said it would be alright. Now here's what I'm worried about. Sapphire and Rose have been best friends ever since Sapphire was born, and they're like really close. They're really good friends. I don't want Sapphire to not only find out we want her to leave the campaign, but that we're replacing her with her best friend. I'm worried that she'll get upset and not like me anymore, or at least not talk to me for a while. My brother is saying I should do it, but I'm unsure. Sapphire keeps telling me she's unmotivated, and that summer is incredibly busy for her, and I don't want her to think we're mad at her for it, but it's just frustrating that she's ruined the campaign because she hasn't been able to come as often. So yeah, TLDR, a Dungeons & Dragons member rarely comes to our campaign. We want to replace her with her best friend. Would I be the a-hole? If you know how I feel about scheduling, you know how I'm gonna answer this, but in any case, drumroll please. You are not the a-hole! I'm sure Sapphire is great. You know, sure she's a wonderful friend. But if she can't show up to an event, it is completely okay for you to not invite her to that event, especially if it's actively ruining the experience for others. I'm assuming you're not inviting Rose out of spite. You're inviting her because you think she would fit well into the game. If Sapphire sees you inviting Rose as some kind of betrayal, that's not on you. That's on her. Just like how Sapphire shouldn't drop everything to play D&D, you shouldn't drop D&D just to cater to her. There's a balance here, and that balance is going your separate ways. If Sapphire sees that as a betrayal, again, like I said, that is definitely not on you. So in this campaign, I am the horror story. I promise I never had any malicious intent, but I think I was disruptive and even a little rude, and I'm seeking objective third-party perspective. So the campaign I'm in is a modified Strixhaven setting, set in a massive sci-fi homebrew universe designed by our Bloodhunter player. Speaking of which, the characters in the story include the Dungeon Master and Bloodhunter, who will be known as BH henceforth, except not because I'm going to keep on calling them Bloodhunter. Anyway, they are both long-term friends of mine. There is also the Pink Tiefling Wizard, which is the significant other of the Dungeon Master. And rounding out the set, we have the Druids, one Wildfire Druid and one Circle of Spores Elven Druid. Each of these characters have a distinctive personality from their player and a believable backstory. And then there's me, a grave cleric brass dragonborn from the planet Gondra with a dead family. Cool idea in my head, just turns out I do not have the improv chops to pretend that I'm not continuously racking my brain for the next funny thing to say. I tend to suffer from what could best be described as class clownishness, in which I have discovered that my sense of humor is my best quality, and thus should be my first foot forward in any social situation. At the start of this campaign about a year ago, I had participated in 2 mini-campaigns hosted by the Dungeon Master in years prior. It absolutely was not my first D&D campaign, but I was a bit nervous because it was going to be my first roleplay heavy game. I was excited and got off the space elevator that integrated with the Strixhaven railway terminal and introduced Gideon to new and old friends, and immediately began cracking jokes at every opportunity, even when in hindsight it was inappropriate. However, the real issue arises in this week's session. So I had a discussion with my long-term friends in the group, and I promised that I'd try to have my cleric be more serious and work on his backstory. So a discussion pops up about a devious upperclassman that has beef with our conniving pink tiefling wizard. This dude is a real piece of work, a real creep, a womanizer, and pathological cheater in classes and sports. My character's current plotline is that he's working to join the Silk Ball team that this Triton upperclassman is a part of, and there is a party being hosted by this jerk's team. The whole party is invited, and at one point, Creep McGee comes downstairs and spots another NPC that is known to the party as one of his previous targets. Our Circle of Spores druid clocks this and first puts himself between this NPC to ward him off, rolling a nat 20 on their intimidation roll. This ruins Jerk Boy's night as he is redirected elsewhere into the party, where our pink tiefling menace plays mind games with him until he essentially gives up on the night. Meanwhile, my character is in the backyard playing Flip Cup, a drinking game, in which I do very well and earn a conversation with the team captain. I just fumble it so hard. I know this is my opportunity to get info from the team captain, but instinct kicks in and I make a pun about flipping out over the game. Groans ensue, but I press on and pivot rapidly to asking this NPC about what got them into the game and the sport. Instead of, hey, do you know about the blue himbo that's obviously important to the wider plot? Turns out that's a lot harder than I thought to do serious roleplay when every quick response I could come up with was empty humor and with nothing to contribute to the overall plot of the campaign or session. I'd figured that after a year, I would have figured this out, but apparently I'm dumber than the average role player. I can't shake the feeling that I'm inadvertently slowing the game down because I find it so much easier to conduct hijinks and make puns than to be thoughtful and considerate to the effort that the DM is making towards creating and advancing the plot. This doesn't even include when I accidentally encourage the prone to alcoholism NPC to cut loose at this party because I, the player, forgot they had revealed their struggles to another character, or that time when I was on a run for some illicit substances with the pink menace and they had disguised self and all I had was ink and a really stupid idea to disguise myself as a black dragonborn. So just generally a long series of events where my mouth moves faster than my brain and I've got this sense of impending doom that I'm running out of forgiveness from the rest of the group. Hopefully you at least found this entertaining. Look, I'm not gonna pretend like you're some perfect angel. I'm sure you've made mistakes, but people who try to learn from their mistakes and improve are not problem players. They just have some problem behaviors, and that's okay. Everyone screws up every now and then. But also, on top of that, these mistakes are certainly not the worst thing we've ever seen. They're not even close. They're fairly mild. It's just jokes at wrong times. Sometimes maybe inappropriate jokes, but even when they're inappropriate, it is unintentional. The best thing you can do is apologize to your friends. Talk to them. You're clearly worried about how you're being perceived, but the best thing you can do is ask the people around you, like, hey, how are you perceiving me? And if they say it's okay, then you're good. And if you want to change your behavior, work on it. Look, going to a third party like me is great, but you gotta share your worries with the people around you, since, hey, they're who really matter. I mean, I'm not in your game. Like I said, are you perfect? Probably not, but I think you're gonna be okay. Basically, I have one player in my group who I will give the nickname of Todd, which has no affiliation with the actual person's identity, who is, in real life, an extremely good friend of mine, but is also extremely selfish and chooses to cheat and lie about rules, but only when it benefits him. Todd has been in semi-unserious D&D groups for a couple of years. I love how that line draws a parallel between D&D groups and romantic relations. He has one continuous monthly session with a DM who, from his own words, basically doesn't know a lot of the rules and just kind of ad-libs as he goes. The DM that Todd is used to playing with never looks up rules and just assumes that every single thing his players are telling him is correct, without ever second-guessing it. I, on the other hand, am a dungeon master who is the polar opposite of that. While I typically like to play by the rule of cool, Dungeons & Dragons itself is, at the end of the day, a game that has rules in place and balance that make it a game. Compared to a headcanon roleplay where everyone is an anime character with unlimited powers and capabilities, I like to ensure that my players are challenged, and I can only do that if they're playing by the rules, as I don't make my creatures break the rules of the game either. So, Todd is used to a very laissez-faire way of playing D&D, where rules basically don't matter. I have told Todd multiple times that I do care about the rules, and we are going to play by them. Todd has added multiple items to his character sheet, which is almost always an advanced armor set he should not have at character creation. I have told Todd 3 separate times in 3 separate instances to not do this, and to only give himself armor that he starts with, because that is exactly what everyone else is doing. I finally had to have a real talk with Todd and told him that this behavior straight up breaks my trust. I asked Todd why exactly he is doing this. His excuse was literally because X armor didn't have a certain disadvantage and he wanted to not have that disadvantage. I asked him why he didn't just ask and why he's doing stuff on the side without telling me, and he didn't really have an answer to that. All he did was apologize instead of owning up to his behavior. It's so frustrating. I feel like I don't have to tell an adult to not cheat at a game. I feel like it's the basic expectation that the only equipment you can get at character creation is starting equipment, as laid out by the player's handbook, and nothing else unless your dungeon master says otherwise. It's so frustrating that he is constantly trying to cheat and thinks that I won't notice when I am obsessive about checking my character sheets because of him, specifically. All in all, it makes me want to stop DMing for my own friend group because I don't want to, nor could I, kick him out. I have plenty of other IRL and online games I can host instead. I don't know what else to say to him at this point. Any suggestions?
A little later.
Thank you so much for all the excellent feedback and these replies. I honestly didn't even know if this post was appropriate for this forum. I think I've made the decision, which I probably already made up my mind before I even made this post, but I'm going to let my personal group know that I'm no longer going to try to pre-plan games with them, and they can hit me up whenever they want to play D&D. I didn't mention this in the post, but Todd wasn't the only issue. Almost everyone in my group is extremely uncommunicative and will last minute surprise tell everyone that they have a vacation planned for the night, even if they knew they had this vacation at least a month in advance. Todd was more or less just the straw that broke the camel's back, and I'm going to have much more fun playing D&D at the game store I DM at and my online sessions that I run. Much more fun groups out there anyway. I think that this is an amicable solution to the problem this dungeon master is facing. Yeah, Todd is not exactly the perfect player, to say the least. They are trying to cheat at the game, which is not good at all, especially since they're trying to do it in such an ungraceful way. I mean, if you're gonna cheat, at least be classy about it. Come on. Cheating is stupid in Dungeons & Dragons and in all TTRPGs. We've talked about this before. And the DM solution for the rest of the group, I think, is also amicable. If these people can set up a session, then they can play. If they can't, then they can't. Last minute canceling can be the bane of DMs who prep a lot. And I think it's fair if the players need to take the reins when it comes to scheduling. If they can't play, I shouldn't have to prep. Simple as that. Hi there guys, this is my first post on this sub after being a long-time lurker, and sadly, today I have a story to share with all of you. This is the story of how our main character problem player almost killed an entire level 5 party after selling off a plot-relevant item. I'll start by introducing you to the cast. Myself as a Twilight Domain Dampier Cleric. The Dungeon Master is the Dungeon Master. Al is a Shepherd Druid multi-class human. Yang is a Celestial Warlock Sprite. Cass is a Stars Druid Tiefling and was not present for most of these events. And Jay is a Vengeance Paladin Kobold, the problem player. This text-based game takes place in a modified version of the Forgotten Realms 5th edition setting over Discord. It all started yesterday. We had just finished a multi-session questline in Mirabar and retrieved a divine, read plot essential, weapon, which problem player Jay got to use because the item fit best with his build, which was a big mistake. Upon returning to Neverwinter, an assassin disguised herself as my character's mother to get close to the party to attempt to steal it. This didn't work, and we ended up in a fight that almost killed the assassin in one round. But before we could land the finishing blow, the assassin disappeared with a puff of black smoke. I was worried and decided to use the Mage Guild's teleportation services to visit my family manor in Baldur's Gate. The party followed suit, and we find out from my character's mom that things are fine, and that there was nothing to worry about since she was here the whole time. We, as a party, decided to take a breather after the encounter and parted ways for a bit to do our own things around town. Once we finished, Al and I met up in a manor lounge with Yang in Al's pocket, resting. I spoke about a few important things with Al before our problem player Jay arrived. Side note, at this point, we knew out of character from the Dungeon Master that Jay had just sold the weapon to the Mages Guild for a pittance, 100,000 gold pieces. Yeah, he sold the priceless divine artifact for 100k gold. He didn't even barter, and he did it without asking for the party's input first. Al and I were getting pretty frustrated out of character since Dungeons & Dragons is a game about trust and teamwork, and Jay broke both those rules. We argued with him in a Discord text chat about why selling a plot item that was important to the campaign's main story was, a bad idea. He didn't seem to really care since all of his comments boiled down to, "Cry about it. It's what my character would do," and "You can't punish me because that would be metagaming." I know that selling something like that is really bad. But to be fair, I do play Destiny, so... The weapon of Dredgen Yor, Thorn, slayer of countless guardians, once the rose of Razil Azir, now corrupted by taken magic and lying in my hands. Yeah, I've got a dozen of these. The DM seemed to enjoy seeing this chaos unfold, and instead of stopping it as it escalated, he posted emojis and GIFs that seemed to do little more than irritate things. And I'll admit, I'm pretty upset and disappointed with him for allowing this player to just disregard and gaslight us like that. Eventually, the Dungeon Master enforced an end to the argument after he decided it was finally going too far. We were upset, but ultimately, losing that item wasn't the end of the world. We figured there will be some hefty consequences for Jay's character in the party from now on. But we could still continue the plot, just with more difficulty. Little did any of us know the tailspin he was about to take us on. After the argument in text chat, we decided to resolve this in character. At the very least, we could just address the issue and continue playing the game. Jay returned to the manor with a bag of holding, which with our current earnings, there was no way he could have afforded. And naturally, we immediately noticed that the massive lance his kobold character had been carrying with him was now missing. The discussion went as follows. Hey, where's the super powerful divine lance? Oh, this really nice lady wanted to see it, so I let her, and then she bought it for some shinies. He said this as a joke to try and rile our characters up, which admittedly worked, given it was half true. What? Jay's character continued to laugh at his own joke throughout the conversation. Jay, this isn't funny. Where is the super powerful lance? It's somewhere safe. I didn't sell it to a stupid lady. Jay, no, you don't get to put it in somewhere safe. Where is it? Yes, I do. The assassin lady almost got it, so it's somewhere secret and safe. We're much easier to find, and they could hurt us while we're asleep or something. He continued to lie, saying the item was safe. We learned from the DM after the fact that he had been rolling deception privately, not that it made a difference. So, where is it then? You seem to misunderstand us. You don't get to keep that secret from us. This is an artifact of a god that literally brought us back from the dead. We're in this as a team, and we as a group are responsible for it, not just you. But other people can keep secrets from me? That doesn't seem very fair. His character's eyes began to dart around the room, looking at Al and me since we're the ones questioning him. Al begins to stare daggers at Jay's character. Excuse me? This isn't a secret, Jay. This artifact has as much to do with any of us as it does with you. It's not a device for you to start some petty argument about secrets. You're the one being mean for no reason. Where's the lance, Jay? We're supposed to be a team. I'm being mean for a very good reason. For all we know, you've sold a priceless divine weapon that we collectively are responsible for and tried lying to our faces once you saw that we were mad about it. You're not acting right. Both of you aren't. Dude, come on. Life isn't a movie. When people are mean to you, you can't just ask the director to yell cut. That goes for D&D too. Jay begins to back away while looking at us warily, evidently thinking we were more assassins in disguise. Well, he thought that in character anyway. What do you mean? We both want to know what you did with it. Oh, no you don't. I am acting exactly appropriately in this situation. This is serious, Jay. No, you're not. Your character was never this mean. Jay, just tell us what you did with it. His character has been inching towards the door and appears like he's about to flee. At this point, my character releases a little NPC sprite friend that I recently bonded with to have him latch onto Jay since my character suspects he's gonna do something. 5th edition spirits have the invisibility feature in their stat block, and through some sort of pact I was able to communicate with him telepathically on the same plane. I plan to use him as a sort of tracking device so Jay could not escape from the party. Al then explains, you're right, I wasn't, but right now we have a really big problem. We are being hunted by assassins, our lives are at risk here, and now we don't even know where the lance is. That artifact, for whatever reason, has our lives written on it, and you won't say what you did with it. After hearing this, instead of trying to de-escalate things, his character decides it would be a better idea to run away. My character shouts to chase after him, and soon enough, we roll initiative. Initially, Al and I rolled alright. I rolled a 14, and Al rolled a 12. Jay takes their roll and rolls poorly, but uses Lucky to re-roll. The Dungeon Master allows it, but they roll poorly again. He asks if he can use his inspiration, and the DM allows that too. Jay finally rolled a modified 20 on their initiative, then proceeded to take over 5 minutes to finalize their turn. It should be noted that at this point, Jay was playing solely over text and was not on voice comms with the rest of us. On his first turn, he deploys Darim's Instant Fortress. This item erupts in my character's family manor, destroying a large chunk of my home and forcing Al, Yang, and I to roll dex saves against a DC 15 saving throw. We all roll low and took 10d10 damage, totaling 54 hit points and nearly wiping us all out. Yang, inside of Al's pocket, is instantly unconscious, while Al and I are put on death's doormat, with Al only having 3 hit points left and I with only 2. Instead of letting him betray our characters and getting away with it, we pursue him. I use my Twilight Sanctuary to grant me temporary hit points while keeping in touch with the NPC sprite to keep tabs on Jay. Al heals Yang before wild shaping into a wolf to give chase. Yang flies after him too, and we begin the fight, which is fairly short-lived. As previously mentioned, my character's family is wealthy, and Jay's character is quickly subdued by the manor guards before he can escape the grounds. The DM sounded frustrated by all of this and asked us out of character if we want to continue playing with him. Everyone except Cass, who wasn't present to weigh in, said they did not want to continue playing with Jay, and the DM ends the madness by having the guards detain Jay to end things peacefully. Jay decides to cast Misty Step and continue trying to escape, but the rest of the estate's guards open fire on him, killing him instantly with 15 heavy crossbow bolts, 8 of which hit, dealing 107 damage. After seeing him get killed, I looked into the bag to see that he had sold the plot item for a +2 plate armor set, a blood axe, and 21,000 gold pieces. Just to reiterate, he sold the patron weapon of a god for 100,000 gold pieces and spent 79,000 of that on 2 generic magic items for himself, and tried lying about it. Jay has a long history of pulling stunts like this, and I have more stories about him from my own campaign to back that up if anyone is interested. He came close to killing my passion for Dungeons and Dragons, and as far as I'm concerned, we let him stick around for way too long. He tends to suffer from main character syndrome and has a pattern of manipulative behavior, argumentativeness, and gaslighting. After getting his character killed, he went to the private messages with the Dungeon Master, wherein he accused the rest of the party of metagaming against him, and the Dungeon Master for intentionally screwing him over, and went on to voluntarily leave the server and unfriend all of us before we could kick him. I realize no one here comes out clean, but this is a group game where everyone should play for fun together. In the end, the DM admitted that he didn't think things would happen this way and regretted letting Jay do what he did. We all agreed to retcon the whole thing after he left, and the DM wrote Jay out by having his character give the party the item and then returning to his homeland. Okay, obviously, this guy's being an idiot in multiple ways, but just for starters, what was his plan in the long term? I mean, he steals the item, initiates PvP with everybody. He did get lucky with the giant tower attack. Using the tower as a bomb is a classic D&D exploit, and he used it against the party, which, yeah, bad form, but it worked out for him. Congratulations. But then, immediately after that, he gets subdued by the army of guards that apparently were on the grounds. What, did he forget about them? Is he stupid? Yes, the answer is probably yes to that last question. Also, with all the crap this guy is pulling off, he can't complain about the other players' metagaming. Look, the rules of the game are important, and generally we try to avoid metagaming. But the rules of the game only matter within the magic circle, within the social contract of playing D&D. And that social contract is very easily broken. Like, for example, by selling an important magical item starting PvP and being a general jerk the entire way. I don't know how to tell you this, but people are going to care a lot less about metagaming in situations like that. Alright, and that's going to be it for today's episode of RPG Horror Stories. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our Tavern Adjacent podcast, where we talk all things TTRPGs while also doing a campaign diary. It's linked in the cards, and while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content right as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment. Don't sell that to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, if you want to send your own horror stories to us, there is an email where you can send them to us directly for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But hey, even if you don't have any stories, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to go watch the series finale of The Owl House, and until next time, guys, farewell.